Okay, today we will see 3 quick tools in 3ds Max. We will see groups, we will see how to modify the pivot point, and we will see how to use mirror tool in order to transform our selection. Perfect. First thing is group, and what it means is this. If we make several objects and let's say I use shift and move to make clones, then I put another box in here. Let's make these a little bit shorter. Perfect. And I place this box in here. What I see is that for me maybe this is a table, but for 3ds Max this is not. These are just 5 boxes. But if I want to be sure that this is somehow treated like one object only, what I can do in 3ds Max is I can group objects. The way that group works is very simple, and you have to select all of your objects that you want to stick together. Then you have to go up here to the menu and you will find group, and the first option that you find is called group. Simply means make a group, so it will combine these objects into a group. You can also give a name, a more specific name to your group. Let's say I will call it table. Click OK, and now no matter where I click, I will discover that for 3ds Max these are not more 5 boxes, while they are one object called group. So this doesn't mean that my boxes are gone. They are still there, and I can still modify them, and I can manage my group in different ways. For example, if I want, I can do just the opposite of making a group by selecting what is a group and clicking ungroup. This will remove any link in between my objects, and I have back all my 5 objects. But there is something in between, that is, let's say I want this to be a table. So I make a group, I call it table again. And what I want to do now is, because in my design I can see that maybe these legs are a little bit too short and I just want to change their height, what I can do is I can select the group and I can use the option that is open the group. When I open the group, I can see these pink boundaries that are telling me that this is a group, but now I can edit objects inside the group. So in this case I'm going to change height of these legs, maybe just to do something. I will also change the width and the length of the table. And when I am done and I want to have back my single object that is the table, I have to select these pink boundaries by clicking them. I will go again to the menu that is group and I will do the opposite step of opening the group that is close. And this is everything you need to know about the group, except for last simple thing, that is, when you move or rotate or scale a group, 3ds Max will use this option by default that is called Use Selection Center. But if you want to be more specific, you can also left click and hold your left button over this symbol so that you can use other options that are called using Pivot Center, use, this one is the default, selection center, or this one that is use transform coordinate center. So it will basically use the 0 point to start our transformations. And we will see how to modify the position of our pivot point right now. So let's see this example. When I want to rotate my table, I can see that 3ds Max places the center of this table somewhere where the software thinks is the center of all these 5 objects. But if I want to rotate my table from a corner, right now I can't. I should rotate the table and then move the table where the edge, the corner of this top of the table should be. And this will be pretty complex and very time consuming, and also not that precise as way to use 3ds Max. So what we can actually do instead is, and this is not only true for groups, but for whatever other kind of object that we use in 3ds Max, we can go to the command panel, we can go to the hierarchy tab, click Effect Pivot Only, and if we want, we can manually choose where our transformation center is placed. We can place it where we want, inside the object, outside, and this is possible when Effect Pivot Only remains highlighted in blue. When we are happy with the result, we have to left click again on this button to close this feature, and if we, let's say, rotate our box, by being sure that we are also using use pivot center in here, now we will see that our group will be rotated from that specific point. If we want to be also more precise, when we move the pivot point, when we click this button and we move the pivot point, we can also combine this feature with snapping points. So I can left click on my snapping feature, right click on it, and for example enabling vertex or midpoint, and I can now move my pivot point not just somewhere, but I can move it, for example, in order to be placed exactly in the middle of this side of the table. Or I can move it again and I can place it exactly on the corner of this table. And when I close Effect Pivot Only, my pivot point will remain there, and I can now just close snap, but I will see that my rotations will happen exactly from that corner of the table and not just from somewhere in the space. This is also particularly useful in order to work with our next tool, that is Mirror. Mirror tool, as the name says, is a tool to transform our object in a specular way. So I will quickly create an object that has no symmetry axis, and just to make everything more visible, I will create a group, and on each side I will place slightly different objects so that we can immediately understand what is front, what is left, right, back, up, down, and so on and so on. So now I will make these as a group so that for 3ds Max this will be seen as one object only, and we'll just call it composition. And I can see that 3ds Max has placed the pivot point somewhere that basically is the geometric center in between all these objects. The tool that I want to show you is called Mirror, and what it does is pretty basic. That is, you select your object, you click Mirror, and Mirror will, by default, transform your object by flipping one axis. So, or you flip all informations about the X, so you will make a back and forth kind of mirror, or the Y, and you will make a left-right kind of mirror, or a Z, and you will make an upside-down mirror transformation. But no matter which axis you are selecting, this mirror transformation is happening from the pivot point. And the transformation will be done just when you will click OK. This is the default behavior of Mirror, but Mirror can be even more interesting because you can select your object, click Mirror, and not only you can transform your starting object, but you can also choose to make a copy or an instance of your object. And as you can see, in this way I will have my original object plus its mirrored copy. And you can also see that in both objects pivot position is exactly the same, so my objects, when I will click OK, are clearly overlapping each other. But if I want, I can, in this case, before using Mirror, I can precisely set the position of my pivot, and for example I will move it on this vertex of the pyramid, and I will make a X mirror transformation so that my clone will go on this side. And when I click Mirror, because now this is my moved position of the pivot point, you can see that no matter which axis I select, my mirror transformation is happening from here. By the way, there is also a parameter called offset that allows you also to slightly shift this position from where you have set your pivot point. Then you click OK, and now you have made your specular duplicates from your original object. And this is quite useful whenever you need to make symmetrical objects. For example, something very basic can be this. I can make one box here, another box there, then I will make a box like this, and I will move this box up. And I will combine all things that we have seen together. So I will start by making a group, and I will call it off, and you will see why. Because if I want to make a table that is symmetrical, I will quickly move the pivot with the snap. I will move it in this midpoint. I will close affect pivot only, and I will click mirror again, and I will make an X mirror transformation. I will make an instance. So now I have the two half of my table. And if I want, I can also quickly, without bothering more technical options, I can select both and make another group, and I will call it table that contains both groups inside. But I can do more, because I can make other 4 boxes. One is this, one is that. Then I will shift and move these 2, and I will scale them. Scale these 60%, 50%, and I will scale these 50% as well. Perfect. Then I will make another box here, and basically I'm quickly building a very rough looking chair. I will make another box that I will use as the back, and as I did before, I will make a group and I will call it chair. So what I can do now, I have a lot of possibilities. Like, I can start by using angle snap, shift, and rotate these 90 degrees, make an instance, and I will place it here. I can make shift and move, and I can make other 2 instances, as well as I can select now this chair. I can move its pivot on the pivot of my table. So I select the snap. I have to be sure that pivot is selected, and I will move the pivot from here to there. And I close this one, so that if I make a mirror now of this chair, its specular copy will be exactly on the opposite side of the table. Let's see if it is true. So I select my group, click mirror, X is correct direction, click OK, and I have my specular copy perfectly on the opposite side of the table. And I can do the same thing down here. So I can select these 3 chairs, make a group, I will call it temp, and exactly as I did before, I will move the pivot of this group into the center of the table, close it, mirror it, but this time I have to mirror my chairs along the Y axis. And by combining groups, moving the pivot, and mirror tool, I have quickly created this furniture scene. So, I think this video was interesting, and if you think to leave a like, make comments, ask me questions. If you haven't already, feel free to subscribe. Don't forget that you can download this file from the link that I will leave you in the description below the video, and as usual, have fun. Bye!